Hey guys, it's Saga, and in this video, I'm going to compare the cameras on the iPhone 14 with the ones on this iPhone 13 mini. Yes, this 13 mini has the same cameras as the regular iPhone 13, and I did already compare the 13's cameras with the iPhone 14. But that video had images from the iPhone 11 and 12 as well, so I couldn't give too much attention to the images just from the iPhone 13 and 14. Many of you even requested for this video, so in this one, I will compare images from all the cameras on the iPhone 14 and 13 mini side by side and see which one has a better set of cameras. Or rather find out if the iPhone 14's camera improvements are worth the extra price over the 13 mini or not. I don't want this video to be too long, so I will talk about the camera specs, video resolution options and the camera interface while we are checking out the images. Now before we begin with the images, if possible, please watch this video in the highest possible resolution that your device supports, as that would let you see all the minute details and differences of these images. With that, let us start with the daytime shots in good sunny lighting conditions. Both these images look amazing, and at a first look, most people might not even notice any differences. But if you look closer, you can see that there are slight differences in the way both of them have captured colors. And if I zoom in, you will also see slightly more details and sharper images from the main camera of the iPhone 14. The 13 mini's images also look almost as detailed if we don't zoom in. The main cameras on both these phones have 12 megapixel sensors, but the one on the iPhone 14 is physically bigger with 1x1.65 inch size and f1.5 aperture, while the image sensor on the 13 mini has a size of 1x1.19 inch and an aperture of f1.6. These specs mean that the iPhone 14's main camera could capture more light and information as it gets a bigger image sensor and a wider aperture in front of it. Apple has also updated the image processing pipeline a bit for these new iPhones. The deep fusion algorithm, which was previously being applied after the image has been processed, is now being applied at a much earlier stage in the image processing, which makes the iPhone 14's images look a bit sharper than the ones from the iPhone 13 mini. Now you need to understand this. While the images from the iPhone 14 are sharper than the previous iPhones, these images are not over sharp. There is a difference between sharp and over sharp. When zoomed in so far, you can see that everything in iPhone 14's image is a bit more clearer and the text is easier to read. There is no weird artifacting or extra noise, and that's because the iPhone 14 is not over sharpening the shot. There is a fine line between sharp and over sharp, and thankfully Apple did not cross it. You will notice these things only if you zoom in too far or if you watch these images on a bigger screen like on a TV or something. If not, then both these images look equally good. iPhone 13 mini gets the same main and wide camera as the iPhone 12 Pro Max, which if you don't know had the best camera of its time. And those sensors backed with the ISP on the A15 Bionic chip help it deliver such amazing looking results. There is a slight difference in the way both these phones capture colors, but despite of that, we can easily tell that these images are from the same family of phones. They don't look miles apart. Some images from the iPhone 14 have a slight green tint in them which doesn't look very natural. If it shows up in your images, you can easily correct that tint in the Photos app of your phone itself. I would say the iPhone 13 mini's colors are a bit more consistent in all lighting conditions. iPhone 14 captures a bit more saturated looking colors when I was shooting in outdoor light. It doesn't look the most natural, but these images are very good for sharing on various social media platforms. The colors pop out, so the images do stand out a bit more. That being said, I think the iPhone 13 mini has captured more natural looking colors which are more closer to how the scene looked in real life. When we get to artificial lighting conditions, the colors from both these phones start looking the same. And now, the iPhone 14 is not saturating the scene as much. If you don't like the colors coming out of either of these phones, both of them get photographic styles, which lets you tweak the colors, warmth, contrast and tone of the images according to your liking. You can set the photographic style of your choice as a default style for all of your images. Coming to the HDR situations, you might not see a huge difference between these two images right away, and both seem to have done well to not let the brighter areas of the scene blow away and also have brought up good amount of details from the shadows. There is however slightly more contrast in the iPhone 14's shot, which makes its image look slightly more detailed. In this shot, both have done a good job with the shadows, but if you look at the brighter sky in the background, then the iPhone 14 did a much better job of capturing its blue color, while the iPhone 13 mini completely blew it up. The 13 mini completely messed up the dynamic range in this shot as well. For some reason, it did not bring in the shadows at all. There was a small cloud passing by, so we see a difference in the level of sunlight in both these images. But the lack of sunlight did not take away that much amount of light. 13 mini just didn't do well in this case. Again, a cloud went by during the time when I was switching between these two phones. Please ignore the warmth in the shot of the iPhone 14 as it was because of the sun. For the shadows, both did well here. But the 13 mini now messed up the brighter parts of the scene. Look at the cloud on the edge of the shot. 13 mini completely blew it up, while the iPhone 14 did a much better job of exposing it. So the iPhone 14 captures better dynamic range of the two, but that doesn't mean that its HDR shots are really good. It is the better one out of these two, but when you look at other Android flagship phones, they do an even better job with it. So I think Apple really needs to step up their HDR game for shooting images. Both the phones are equally quick and accurate at setting and switching the focus from near to a far object. This becomes very important when you are trying to capture close-up shots. Both the phones have a big main image sensor, so the background gets a very nice natural creamy bokeh and the subject is in sharp focus. You can get a bit more closer to the subject on the iPhone 14 than on the iPhone 13 mini. This is surprising as the image sensor on the iPhone 14 is slightly bigger. Nevertheless, the close-up shots look really good from both the phones. If there is a bright background behind your subject and if you are using tap to focus, then the background might be blown out on both these phones. To make sure this doesn't happen after you tap your subject, just lower the brightness slider a bit until the background is no longer blown out and your image will look much better and balanced. I have seen many people having this issue and now you know how to work past it. By the way, this works on any phone that you might be using, so try it the next time you are in such situation. If this is how your main camera sees the scene, then this is how much more of the scene the ultra-wide angle lens will let you get in the shot from both these phones. Both of them get a 12 megapixel sensor behind the 13mm ultra-wide angle camera and an f2.4 aperture. Both these phones are actually using the same ultra-wide angle camera, so these images might look almost identical, and any change that we might see is due to the slightly tweaked image processing on the newer iPhone 14. Like with the images from main camera, even the wide shots are slightly sharper and more detailed from the iPhone 14. This lens comes in handy when you want to capture a wide scene. Both the phones do a good job with these kind of images when there is ample light. If you click wide shots in indoor lighting conditions, they still look good, but both the phones end up capturing some noticeable amount of noise in these situations. So I find that it is best to use these lenses outside when there is plenty of light. If you take a lot of wide shots, you can choose either of these phones since the differences between these wide images is not very easily noticeable. Now coming to the portrait shots. Both the phones do a great job of edge detection and separating the subject from its background, so they get basics of the portrait mode right. I don't know if you can tell this or not, but the portraits on the iPhone 13 mini look a bit flat, while the ones from the iPhone 14 seem to have a bit more depth in them. 14's images also seem to have a bit more details in your subject. The difference is little, but if you look for it, you can tell that the images from the iPhone 14 are looking slightly better. I'm not saying that the ones from the iPhone 13 mini don't look good, but just that there is a slight difference in these portrait shots, and if you want sharper subjects, iPhone 14 is doing it better. Both do well even when there are multiple people in the shot. If all of them are in the same plane of focus, their faces will be kept in focus. For taking portraits in lower lighting conditions, iPhone 14 is clearly noticeably better, while the iPhone 13 mini is showing a lot of noise on the face. While taking portraits of objects, both again do a very good job, but the iPhone 14 seems ever so slightly faster at detecting the edges than the iPhone 13 mini. And the 13 mini sometimes asks me to keep on moving closer to the subject, while the iPhone 14 can detect the edges from a bit further away. When you are in indoor lighting conditions, iPhone 14 tends to capture cooler shots, while the iPhone 13 mini tries to capture slightly warmer tones. Actual colors of the scene were more closer to how they looked in the iPhone 13 mini's images. With that, let us move on to the images which are taken in artificial and lower lighting conditions. The bigger image sensor on the iPhone 14 should come in play in these situations. As I zoom in, you can see that the iPhone 14's images has a bit more details and less noise compared to the images from the iPhone 13 mini. Again, this is not as apparent in conditions like these where there is plenty of ambient light. If you take a lot of images indoors, then you will benefit from the cameras of the iPhone 14. In some indoor conditions where there is warm light, for some reason iPhone 14 tries to cool down those lights a bit, whereas the iPhone 13 mini captures the scene as it was. This is not a big issue, and you will notice this only when you compare these images side by side. That being said, I would still choose the iPhone 14 as it captures more details and very less noise. You should know that although the iPhone 14 is the latest, both of these are flagship phones and their cameras perform like it when the lighting conditions are challenging. Doesn't matter which of these you choose, you are going to end up with amazing looking shots. As the light gets even lower, you will start noticing a clearer difference between the two images. Let me make this very clear. iPhone 13's images look very good by itself, but when we look at its images in comparison to the ones from the iPhone 14, they look almost soft in comparison. This is true with most of the images from this point. Ones from the iPhone 14 look much detailed and sharper, while the ones from the iPhone 13 mini are showing slightly better and true to life colors. I don't like to shoot a whole lot in lower light, no matter which phone or camera I have. I feel like most phones either capture too much noise in these situations, or they add in too much light and make the night mode or low light shots look like they were captured during the daytime, and I am not fond of both. But since getting the iPhone 14, I have started clicking more and more images after the sun goes down outside of these camera comparison videos as well. I like the balance that the iPhone 14's camera has struck in terms of the amount of details being captured versus the noise in these shots, and it also gives the night shots look like they were clicked during the night. Both these phones are not too keen on switching to the night mode unless the light is very low, which I feel is a good thing. The new image sensor are so big and there is wide aperture and image stabilization to help the phone gather all the necessary information that these modern phones can deliver good looking night mode shots without needing to switch to the night mode. Yes, there are some situations where a smartphone's camera just can't deliver usable images without night mode, and for those times, both these phones do really well. iPhone 14's images are again slightly sharper and more detailed in these conditions. Although both the phones are using the same ultra-wide cameras, the resulting images in low light are very different. Better image processing on the iPhone 14 helps it capture a much sharper ultra-wide angle night mode shot compared to the iPhone 13 mini. I would still not use this lens too much in these lighting conditions, but if the need to use this lens in lower lighting conditions ever arises, one on the iPhone 14 can stand up to the challenge. That brings us to the front-facing cameras. Both the phones get 12 megapixel front-facing cameras, but the one on the iPhone 14 gets a wider aperture of f1.9 against the f1.2 aperture on the iPhone 13 mini. And 14's selfie camera now also gets autofocusing capabilities, while the iPhone 13 mini's front camera still gets fixed focus like on all previous iPhones. But what does all this mean? It means iPhone 14 captures more light and information compared to previous iPhones, and the faces also look a bit more sharper in its selfies. I don't know if it is coming through the video or not, but the faces in iPhone 14's selfies look much sharper in person. It is also keeping the noise level down, whereas some of the selfies from the iPhone 13 mini seem to have much more noise when the light is not ideal. Edge detection is almost same from both the phones in these portrait selfies, but the faces again look much sharper in iPhone 14's images. When it comes to taking selfies and other images in lower light, iPhone 14 is performing clearly better than the iPhone 13 mini or any of the previous iPhones for that matter. Here's a video from the front-facing camera of the iPhone 14 and the iPhone 13 mini. You can see how both these phones are handling the overall colors of the scene, exposure, and stabilization when I'm walking around with them. You can also let me know in the comments which of these do you think is handling my voice better. Coming to the video performance. All the cameras on both these phones can shoot at a maximum resolution of 4K 60fps, and both of them can also record Dolby Vision HDR videos. These videos look excellent from both the phones, and iPhones have been go-to video shooting phones for quite a while now. For some reason, no other manufacturer has been able to replicate or even come close to its video quality. Video stabilization on the iPhones has been one of the best in the industry, but with the iPhone 14 series, Apple wanted to take things to the next level. You now get an action mode while shooting videos, and when turned on, it captures rock-stable videos in 2.8K resolution. You can see the action mode at work here and see how good it looks against a normally stabilized video. These videos are cropped a bit compared to the 4K videos, but once you learn to compensate for the crop, you can take some extremely smooth videos. The cinematic mode, which was introduced last year with the iPhone 13 series, now graduates to 4K resolution, and you can even choose your preferred frame rate between 24 and 30 fps. Here is a 1080p 30 fps cinematic mode video from the iPhone 13 mini compared side by side with the 4K 30 fps one from the iPhone 14. I like shooting in this mode, and for me, the 4K cinematic mode alone was worth upgrading my phone from the iPhone 13 to 14. Let me know how do you think this video turned out. With that, we have seen over 150 image and video samples from both these phones combined. During the daytime, it is extremely difficult to tell that which of these phones does better without zooming in. HDR is better on the iPhone 14, but not by a whole lot. And if you are careful while taking your shot, chances are you can get the lost dynamic range in editing on the iPhone 13 mini as well. Portrait shots also look mostly same from both the phones, but the faces too seem to have a bit more details in the iPhone 14's images if you zoom in and compare the two side by side. There is, however, a clear difference between the images once the light goes down. iPhone 14 is definitely performing better in those situations, and its selfies are also much improved over the 13 mini. So now it's decision time. Think about this. If you take most of your images during the daytime, and if you don't plan on zooming in and pixel peep on your images, I think you can go with the iPhone 13 mini and you won't regret it a bit. But if majority of your images are clicked indoors or after the sun goes down, or if the improved selfie camera is very important to you, or if you absolutely need the new action mode while shooting videos, which is not available on the iPhone 13 mini, then your only option is to go with the iPhone 14. Well, we knew this at the beginning, that iPhone 14's cameras are obviously going to be better than the ones on the iPhone 13 mini. Otherwise, what is even the use of launching a new phone? But the main question is, are the iPhone 14's camera improvement worth the extra price over the iPhone 13 mini? Let us check both their current prices. At the time of uploading this video, iPhone 14 is available at 79,900 rupees and the iPhone 13 mini is being sold at 64,900, so a difference of 15,000 rupees. Now just to recap, For the extra 15,000 rupees, you are getting sharper, more detailed images during the daytime, slightly better dynamic range, much better low light performance, sharper selfies in all lighting conditions, cinematic mode video in 4K, and action mode. If you are a true smartphone photography or videography enthusiast, then I think the 15,000 rupees difference is justified. But if you don't take too many images with your phone, or if you have budget constraints, then I would say save the 15,000 rupees and go with the iPhone 13 mini. If you want better battery life, go with the regular iPhone 13 and you will get the same cameras as this iPhone 13 mini. And right now, it might even be available at an even steeper discount than the 13 mini. So looking at all these things, what have you decided and which of these would you go for? Let me know in the comments. Whichever one you decide to go with, I will really appreciate if you get it from the affiliate links in the description section. It won't cost you anything extra, but it goes a long way in helping me make these videos for you guys. That is it for this video guys. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this video and subscribe to the channel for a lot more quality tech videos like this. You can also check out some of the other videos from this channel. This has been Sagar and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care.